relationships with Hezbollah, with Syria, and Hamas. That's why Netanyahu called these countries or organizations proxies of Iran. They're not actually Iran, but Iran is the one that's supporting them. And so some have said, well, they really, when it says Iran, it means all of the countries that Iran supports. Could be, I don't know, but maybe this is a better explanation. Okay.
So if we take out Iran,
if you take out Iran, then and if you take out, if Israel takes out Iran right now, that's going to delay things for some years, and then it's going to be the nations around them that they're going to really have to deal with. So we'll see if Israel does something like that. Well, at least delays their nuclear capabilities. By the way, Ezekiel 38, you understand, it does speak about a nuclear blast in Israel. You do understand that? No. It talks about having to go around. It's not. I don't think Iran is able to do a very good bomb. I think it kind of fizzles, but it sends out enough nuclear energy that people die. And so for 7 years, Israel finds bodies, and they have to go and have professional body retrievers. This is what it talks about in Ezekiel 38. So there is something of a nuclear blast in Israel. They do it, but it doesn't wipe out Israel. It just kills people. Four. Others have, the last sentence, which are, Iran is a key player among the Ezekiel invaders. Obviously we know that. All right, the third to the last paragraph. When Ezekiel wrote, he did not have names like Russia, Iran, Turkey, Libya, Hezbollah, Hamas in his vernacular. Thus he referenced Rosh, Magog, Persia, Meshach, Put, etc. to describe modern-day Russia, Iran, Turkey, Libya, and 9 populations in total. However, nowhere included in Ezekiel's list of populations are Tyre, which was Lebanon back then, Ashur, which was Assyria, Philistia, Gaza. These populations appear to be reserved for the Psalm 83 Arab-Israeli War. So we're going to call that the Psalm 83 Arab-Israeli War. Where is Ron Maturo? You know, Ron would just eat up this stuff. Where is he? Is he on another cruise? Yeah. I thought I was going to have Ron back there going, yeah.
He's still stuck on a carnival.
He was on the carnival cruise. How fun that was. All right, this is not to say that Ezekiel couldn't have listed the Psalm 83 conspirators alongside the Russian-led consortium, since he references most all of the Psalm 83 populations elsewhere throughout his prophetic book. That Ezekiel does, but not in Psalm 38, or Ezekiel 38. This suggests two things. One, Ezekiel had their ancient names within his vocabulary, and two, they aren't part of the Ezekiel 38-39 invasion. Think of it. All right, below are 2 tables and 2 maps that generally identify and locate the participants in the Psalm 83 inner ring of Arab confederates and the Ezekiel 38 outer circle of the Russian coalition. The Pentagon borders distinguish the Psalm 83 inner ring from the Ezekiel 38 outer circle. These illustrations depict 2 distinctly different Confederate groupings. These exhibits are intended to loosely, rather than precisely, identify the pertinent populations and their locations. Some scholars present differing views as to who the participants are in each prophetic event. So now, hopefully this will make more sense now. We're talking about an inner ring and an outer ring. The outer ring attacks Israel in Ezekiel 38. The inner ring, not listed in Ezekiel 38, what happens to them? Psalm 83. And Psalm 83, though it is shorter than Ezekiel 38 and 39, Psalm 83, or that war, is referenced in so many other books of the Bible, one of them being this thing with Isaiah 17, the other one being Zechariah 9. It's just amazing. Okay, so we'll read on. Since the summer of 2008 of my, well, he gives a whole bunch of other reasons. He has eight not reasons, but 8 possibilities, hypotheticals where Psalm 83 could be in. It could have been a historical fulfillment in 2 Chronicles 20. That's when Jehoshaphat and his armies attacked the Amalekites. And remember what was unique about when Jehoshaphat attacked the Amalekites? He put in front of the army, he put his singers, which they hadn't signed up for that. They were singers, but they were the front ones, the front lines, and then God destroyed them. They killed themselves. It's historical fulfillment in the War of 1948. Well, they're not quite wiped out, and they're still posing a problem. Historical fulfillment in the War of 1967. Psalm 83 doesn't quite fit. Or it's about to find final fulfillment prior to Ezekiel 38, and that's what this guy, he really thinks that's the case. That's what he presents in this book, the Israelistine hypothesis. That's the name of the book. Esther, you want to get it for me? Go ahead. It'll find fulfillment with Ezekiel 38. It'll find fulfillment after Ezekiel 38, but prior to Armageddon. He separates Ezekiel 38 from Armageddon. Some people don't. It'll find fulfillment with the Armageddon campaign. It's a psalm where he's asking for something, and it's not really a prophecy per se. So he goes through all those illustrations in his book, and he of course concludes number 4. It's going to find fulfillment prior to Ezekiel 38, so it's the thing we're looking for next. In addition to the comparisons already given, the rest of this article will be devoted to addressing the seemingly clear distinctions between Psalm 83 and the Ezekiel 38-39 Israeli war prophecies, and why they probably won't occur concurrently as per number 5 above. On a side note, although Ezekiel 38 and 39 is comprised of 52 passages, and Psalm 83 a mere 18, it's my contention that when all Psalm 83 interrelated prophetic passages are discerned, much more detail is given in the Bible about the psalm than the Ezekiel invasion. Thus, the psalm, generally overlooked by scholars until recently, is now beginning to receive the serious study it deserves. Ezekiel 38 and 39 generally details the whole Israeli war episode from start to finish, whereas Psalm 83 gives far less detail. Thus, it becomes incumbent upon the eschatologist to diligently search the entirety of Scripture to find out how the Lord intends to deliver Israel through the climactic concluding Arab-Israeli war prophecy. We can conclude that it very well could be the final effort of the Psalm 83 6-8 Confederates to destroy Israel by reviewing the end results of the historical examples Asaph references in Psalm 83 9-11. A careful review of the historical Israeli war events Asaph alludes to takes the reader primarily to the accounts recorded in Judges chapters 4-8. Upon reviewing these chapters and appropriately aligning the events described therein with recorded history, one concludes that once these former enemies of Israel were defeated, they ceased to ever oppress the Israelites further. Similarly, the inference can be made by Asaph's specific petitioning that once the Israelites, or should the event occur soon, it's the Israeli Defense Forces that defeat the Psalm 83 Confederates, and they likewise will cease to ever collectively oppress Israel further. It'd be a wonderful thing if that took place. The two prophecies have distinctly differing mandates and motives and destructions. So you can read on. Psalm 83 has 10 populations, where Ezekiel 38 has only 9. In the aftermath of Psalm 83, the second paragraph to the end there, of Psalm 83 and Ezekiel 38, humanity is delivered 2 distinctly differing lessons. Psalm 83 teaches humanity that God's Genesis 12:3 foreign policy is still effectually intact, and Ezekiel 38 displays that God's glory and informs humanity that God is real, sovereign, and extremely powerful. Regarding the Psalm 83 lesson, the lead member of Psalm 83 is the tents of Edom, who are probably representative of the Palestinian refugees today, according to my studies published in Israelistine's Who Done It chapter. The Edomites are descendants of Esau, who was Jacob's twin brother. Jacob was renamed Israel in Genesis 32:28. The lesson for humanity in the aftermath of Psalm 83 is that if God did not spare the descendants of Jacob's own twin brother Esau for cursing the Jews, then how can anyone be spared of a similar fate for attempting the same? Thus, the Abrahamic covenant is demonstrated through the IDF, that's the Israeli Defense Force, destruction of the Psalm 83 Confederates to still be effectually intact. All right, time is up. Okay, what to say about all of this? I want to go into the actual scripture next week and look at these verses so that you will, in your own mind, have no question. But when you think about Ezekiel 38, you realize there's an outer circle and an inner circle, and Psalm 83 talks about the inner circle of nations that border Israel, and realize that we're reading about this every day. We're seeing Scripture fulfilled every day when we listen to the newspapers, and also we have an administration that is encouraging that is inciting that. And Israel, one of the verses that I'll talk about here in Zechariah 9, it talks about Israel being attacked, and Israel has losses. They are harmed, and then, because Israel is not going to be the first one that attacks, unless it's Iran, if they bomb the nuclear facilities. They might even do it as a